obviously the xenomorph, these things are owned by the fans, right? And so I definitely put my own spin on the xenomorph, but I was very adamant that we can't change the silhouette. It has to feel like the xenomorph that people love.
I have a theory I want to run past you guys.
I think that's a really interesting contrast.
Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Erik Voss, and with the new Alien Earth series premiering this week, I wanted to share with you my exclusive interview with series creator Noah Hawley, who also created the amazing shows Fargo and Legion for FX, and Alex Lawther, who plays the medic named Hermit on this Alien Earth series, and who you may also know as the manifesto-quoting Nemec from Andor, and a character from one of the most shocking episodes of Black Mirror. I was able to see the first episode of Alien Earth before chatting with these guys, but our conversation doesn't really spoil anything huge from episode 1, and it doesn't touch on anything from episode 2, which I have not seen yet, but the first 2 episodes are dropping together this week, and maybe you've seen both by the time you're watching this video. But our chat does cover some of the really cool Easter eggs that you'll see throughout this series, as well as the timeline and lore of how the show connects back to the 1979 Alien film, and just some other details that this very talented showrunner and actor were kind enough to share with me. And you may have noticed that I am wearing this really fun Wayland Yutani shirt that we have at our merch store, nerdriot.shop. Grabbing one of these is one of the best ways you can support what we're doing here at New Rockstars, and I'm gonna be wearing this just like forever, because it's like one of my favorite evil fictional companies from my favorite franchise. And before we get into the interview, I just want to say thank you to FX for bringing me down to Comic-Con and providing me this space to record. Okay, here's the full interview.
Erik Voss from New Rockstars, chatting with Noah and Alex from Alien Earth. Thank you for taking some time to chat with me.
Of course.
I'm so excited. Alien is my favorite franchise. I cover a lot of franchises, and it all comes back to Alien for me. And Noah, I was curious. So, as you did with Fargo, you took a beloved cinema classic and expanded it into, for the first time, a serialized narrative. And as you're doing that for Alien, were there any rules that you established for yourself, or were established for you, that you didn't want to go past that line to disturb anything else within the canon?
Yeah, I think the job of when you translate something from the big screen to the small screen, the most important thing is authenticity, right? And the audience has to feel within the first minute that, oh, they get it. They understand what this movie is, what the feel of Alien is. And so that was the most important thing, and why I chose to open the movie with an homage to the opening of Ridley's film. Straight into post-cryo breakfast, and they're smoking and they're talking over themselves in a very Robert Altman-esque kind of way, because then the audience is like, they feel, oh, I settle in. This feels like Alien to me. And we get them settled there before we go into the newer elements of the show. And once they have that, then there's trust there. So, I wanted the ship to feel as Nostromo as possible. We used the authentic blueprints from the original film. We had to scale a couple of things up, but in general, when you stepped onto that set, you were stepping onto Ridley's set, and you felt it. Everyone became a child again when they stepped onto that set. And so, obviously the xenomorph, these things are owned by the fans, right? And so I definitely put my own spin on the xenomorph, but I was very adamant that we can't change the silhouette. It has to feel like the xenomorph that people love.
Yeah. And Alex, one thing that you're bringing to all of this is I may be wrong, but the first time a true healer in this world. Most of the time when we see characters who represent science, there's some kind of ulterior motive, but your character truly, from what I've seen of this show so far, truly seems bound by a Hippocratic oath to do no harm. And what is it like existing as that character in this world?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, do no harm in a world of apex predators.
Right.
It's so interesting. Yeah, and I think that becomes a big bit of tension for the character I play, Hermit, is when to pull off the Band-Aid and where to put care when that care doesn't really fit the shape it used to, particularly in terms of his relationship with his sibling, with Wendy Chandler, with Sydney Chandler's character, Wendy, who is in this hybrid body but has the memories and personality of his kid sibling. And yet doesn't need the care that she once did. That becomes a real sticking point for him. I hadn't thought about, of course, the Hippocratic Oath, and I think that's a really interesting contrast to, otherwise the violence of xenomorphia. Yeah.
I love the physical mannerisms you were doing with your hands, from the ripping of the bandages that, I could be wrong, seemed like a triage decision, and then the drumming of your fingers on your arm or on whatever you're holding. Is there anything to that, like specifically with the ripping of the bandages? Is it a triage thing or is it something else?
It's funny because I worked with a really brilliant nurse in Thailand and did sort of, a suturing and learned all this stuff. But actually, when you're in the thick of it on a film set and that needs to happen in probably about 3 seconds rather than the 35 that it does IRL, I realized that actually there's a bit of movie cheating that has to happen, because otherwise the audience is left with Alex Lawther very conscientiously doing up a wound, which is not that interesting. So I suppose it was good to have that knowledge for my own sake, but the reality is that that scene ultimately is about rhythm and moving forward, and it's not really that interesting to see someone plaster up a cut hand.
Speaking to the 1979 production design, Noah, in your research going back to H.R. Giger's designs to Ron Cobb's semiotic standard, was there anything that you found in your research that you didn't know before you took on this project that surprised you and that was particularly useful to you as you were telling the story in your own way?
Well, I mean, I hadn't really noticed all the Egyptian symbology that Ridley was using in the film. That was really interesting to me. I think the rest of it was just there for me to try to build that world out, and this idea of synthetic beings, moving more to the forefront than the sort of distrustable sidekick roles that we'd seen. But also, the long form storytelling allowed me to really tease out that question, with Tim's character. Is he a hero? Is he a villain? Or is it not that simple to know for sure? And so, it was to use, it's all about managing expectations of the audience, and to do it, you have to know what they're expecting at any one moment. And, clearly Ridley and both with Fassbender and with Ian Holm, he sets a table for distrust of the synthetics, that the audience expects to distrust them. So then, James Cameron obviously undermined that, but you realize that they have real feelings there, so I can get in there and play around.
Today's video is sponsored by Blue Chew. If you've made it to August without your fair share of summer lovin', you might need a better wingman. I'm not judging your friends, but if your buddy from work is already helping with the introductions, let Blue Chew help with. Blue Chew is the original brand offering chewable tablets for better sex. These erection-enhancing tablets help men achieve stronger, harder, and longer-lasting erections for sexual activities. It's super easy too. Just sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. You can take Blue Chew anytime, day or night. That way you can plan ahead or be ready for whenever an opportunity arises. It's all done online. That means no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. Blue Chew's tablets are made in the USA and prepared and shipped direct to your door in a discreet package. If you're skeptical or don't think you need it, try it free for a month and see. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. As always, your first month of Blue Chew is free. Just use the promo code Rockstars at checkout and pay $5 for shipping. That's it. Join Blue Chew's global mission to make better sex the dominant drive of modern society. Head to BlueChew.com for more details and safety info. Huge thanks to Blue Chew for sponsoring this revolution.
I wanted to ask you both about the pop culture references that we see in the show, from the importance of the Disney and the J.M. Barrie, Peter Pan, a legend, and then when characters are watching Ice Age. And I have a theory I wanted to run past you guys. I haven't seen all the episodes of the show. Could it be that since this is a world where AI is a very big deal, are we seeing kind of a sad future where AI makes the production of new films and new television a bit irrelevant, and people go back to these classic things? Because Ripley in the first film references Singing in the Rain when she sings You Are My Lucky Star, and I always thought that was so weird that she references a movie that would be like 180 years old to her. Is there anything to that? Is that something that you're exploring, or is there something deeper with these references?
Well, I mean, we're 100 years in the future, right? And if you think about 100 years in our past, I mean, all the buildings are still standing that were there 100 years ago, and there's a lot, of our classic novels, or so culture can stretch that far, and the classics are the classics. Clearly, Peter Pan, defies any particular era. So, I think for me it was more in establishing that, Alex. His most direct memories of his sister are when she was a very small child, and what language do adults and children share? It's like I can't tell you how many times I watched Ice Age with my son, and every time you said, "What movie do you want to watch tonight?" he said Ice Age, and at a certain point I had to say, I cannot watch any more Ice Age for like 6 weeks.
My niece is really into Teletubbies at the moment. And, and that's now, what, 20, 30 years old?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
But those are our original, myths, right? Those children's movies that we saw when we were kids, and they shape us. So, I think it gives real context to the earthness of the show. It's like, no, it is an Earth, and it is our Earth, and it shares things in common with us.
And Alex, I was interested to see your character listening to a live baseball game, and I was reminded of like friends I have who like listen to soccer games at weird hours, or football games rather, at weird hours, just to keep up with the sports angle. Is there something to like? There are certain constants in our world. There's always going to be some person who's listening to a sports game over the radio and just keeping up with the score.
Yeah, I love that detail. I love the sort of that there's all these seams of life running through the story. And that particular one we spoke about being a connection between Hermit and his dad, for example. And therefore also a connection to his sister. Imagine that the three of them went to baseball games together. And yeah, we spoke about this idea of Mr. October, of this person that has to step up to the plate and at the last moment, despite all the odds, hit a home run, and as well as I understand it, and yeah, that being yes, sort of how one builds the mythology of oneself, and I think baseball is definitely in there for Hermit.
One of the really fun things I'm seeing from the show is like the return to form of the Dan O'Bannon approach of like insectoid creature design and the different stages of an insect life cycle. Were there any specific real world animals or insects or any kind of fauna that inspired the new creatures that we see on this series?
Yeah, there were a lot of really gross photos that flew around between me and Weta and the production designer. Some truly disturbing images of, parasites that live inside the mouth of the fish, and just eat whatever's coming in, and some deep sea creatures. For me, it was always function over form, in the writing, and it was very important. I think I talked about authenticity earlier, and in trying to give you that feeling that I felt when I watched Alien, I have to give you back the discovery of the life cycle of a creature you know nothing about, right? And every stage of it is worse than the stage before. And you can't get that from a egg or a face hugger or a xenomorph anymore. So I needed to introduce these new creatures. But, each one plays into some genetic revulsion that's been handed down since we were, proto-humans, where it's like something about parasites, something about insects, things that get into your blood and under your skin. And, we it bypasses the intellectual part of our brain when we think about those things.
Yeah, definitely an innate fear. Well, Noah and Alex, thank you so much for chatting with me. It was really great to talk to you guys about Alien.
Thank you.
Okay, that was my full interview with Noah Hawley and Alex Lawther from Alien Earth. Thanks again to FX for the opportunity to chat with them. Comment down below with your thoughts, and a special thanks to one of our YouTube members, Jeremy Dunham, who supports us at the executive producer level. Again, you can grab one of these Weyland-Yutani shirts at our merch store, nerdriot.shop. Follow me at EA Voss. Subscribe to all the channels in the New Rockstars Network for breakdowns and news coverage of everything you love. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.